Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome back. This is Coding Together, and tonight I'm going to continue working on the Visions virtual tabletop. I say continue even though there's not another associated video. The first video I had this great big huge glitch that was really not great. Did not like that at all. Whatever. Um, So tonight I'm just going to pick up where I left off, which in this case is building out some state management for the application. This is a really, really early stage application that I'm just hacking on, and entirely for the fun of it, although it's also to a degree because I want an app for running role-playing games the way I tend to run them when I'm at a table. Which is not quite the same as what most virtual tabletops are designed for. So where I am right now is building out the state management and building out interaction with the server. And very specifically, what I'm doing is admin onboarding and wow, I'm really drawing a blank. Admin onboarding and user authentication. So working on those things. If you look too closely at what I'm doing, you're going to see some really serious security problems. Yes, I know. I know that I'm not encrypting my passwords. That'll come. Just not yet. Maybe later tonight, but more likely I just want to get the things kind of getting the initial flow working. Now, I can see that for some reason my video capture isn't working, so let's see if I can get that working right again. Not the video capture, the screen capture. Come on, you. Select a monitor. There we go, that's what I want. And I will show you where we are at the moment. Just have to bring this. Well, I've got the server up, now I'm bringing the front-end dev server. Not really sure what to call it. It's like there's two servers involved, but ultimately the UI would just be served directly from the server itself. There we go. Bring this on over. And now let's get a good layout going. Now last time I was streaming and clicking the little button that brought up my tiler, I actually also clicked the button that nuked my screen sharing. So I have managed to avoid doing that tonight. Yeah, good. I can see my mouse moving. That's good. So where we are at the moment. The workflow is that a freshly installed application is going to have an admin user created, but with no password. Might even be that I don't even create the admin user. And if you go to the UI, you're going to be immediately prompted to set the admin password. So it doesn't really matter what I set right now because there's nothing behind it to work. So what I'm going to actually do is set the admin password here, and because the default because the state gets initialized such that there is no, or it assumes that the server isn't working, we need an admin password. We should, if this password has been changed, we should see a different state appear here as soon as the application detects that the admin password is set. So let's just start out with that. Update update users set password equal ABCDF. Yeah, ABCD is fine. Where UUID equals admin. Now we're going to quit. Cool. Now let's refresh the page. And it does not work. But I do know that Yeah, in the background, the query is at least going out. So we're not getting the state update. Cool. So let's talk about how this is happening. First of all, React application. Like, that's probably the fundamental thing. I really thought about bringing Redux in and then just didn't have the patience to go through modern Redux tutorials, and I don't remember how to set up an old style Redux application. So at the moment, I'm using a state context. So I'm going to jump to that here. And here's the provider. And in the provider, I set up ye olde standard reducer. So the reducer has the state. We've got the dispatcher for managing, like, if you know React, you'll be familiar with this. If you don't, the dispatcher is a function that handles like receiving the current state, receiving the action you want to perform, transforming it into the new state, and then getting all of that saved, and then sending out messages to all of the components that are listening for the state. My reducer in this, that would be why it's really dirt simple. The reducer doesn't do any processing. It just accepts the state, prints something, and returns the state. Let me make sure that it's printing something reasonable and useful. So reducer has the state, which has the auth no admin, cool, and then the action is set auth state, which should be setting to unauthed. Great. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and pass this dispatch function into what I'm calling the state manager. And the state manager allows for more complicated functions. In particular, grabbing status. The dispatcher, the reducer, and all of that can't reach out to any resources. So I have to provide another function that calls into the server. And it's an asynchronous function. When this function returns and it gets back whether or not the admin user has been enabled, then we're going to dispatch an updated state in order to indicate that. This kind of model is going to be the basis for everything. When I set up my provider and provide the application state to all of the children, I'm giving it the state, but I'm also giving it the state manager, not this individual dispatcher. So anything that wants to modify the state will get the state manager and call one of these functions. And so this is going to be sort of the, not grand central dispatch, but kind of the big brains of interacting with the server. At the moment, though, pretty obviously, we are getting an update from the server, just not saving it. So this becomes, this is really easy at the moment, but I'm going to make it a tiny bit more complicated, and for that matter, more what we're going to want. Nope. No, it's really just going to be this. So I already know that the type is going to be set auth state, so I'm going to switch on the content. To, if it's no admin, return auth. Well, no, I don't even need to check all of this. In point of fact, it's just going to be return all of the state, but replace auth with the action.content. There we go. And have to refresh this because this is... Oh, never mind, it caught up. So what happens if I just arrive? If I arrive... Okay, so there's a flash where it knows that, or there's a flash where it assumes that it's an admin instance. So I have like initial setup that I'm not doing. For the moment, I'm just going to leave that. I think I'm okay with that for now. Yeah, I am. Okay. Now I'm going to delete the database, restart the server, because now I want to set the password from within the app. And that's going to involve like calls or all the way down to the SQL layer. So, whoa. Okay, something is spinning. It's not supposed to be, but it is definitely spinning. Getting status. Use effect. The state manager isn't changing. The state provider shouldn't be changing. The children... Why is it re-rendering all the time? Yeah, it's... Oh, spinning hard, and I don't know why. That's not good. So if I take this away, that should put an end to the spin, I think. Yeah, it does. Oh. Yeah, I really don't know what I'm doing. Does use reducer have to be within a component? React use reducer. It is a hook, so it has to be within a component. Might be I have to bring in Redux anyway. Because I think what's happening is... No, actually, I don't really know what's happening. So state provider renders, create the reducer, create the state manager, set up an effect. That effect will only re-trigger if on a future render the state provider, I think that's the key, on a future render. Nuts, that's no good. What are refs? I keep forgetting. Lets you reference a value that's not needed for rendering. Call useRef at the top level of your component to declare a ref. Okay. That's the initial value. useRef returns an object with a single property, which is the current. Okay. So, you know, I've got my headphones on. I really want some music. And since nobody is watching, I'm just going to pause to look up my music. Oh, what am I in the mood for tonight? Oh, it's got to be something orchestral or I won't be able to read the stuff I'm reading. Okay, if you want to follow along with me, listening to a Zoe Keating album. So, single cello run through a looper. Use ref. It returns a ref object with a single current property initially set to the initial value. On next renders, use ref will return the same object. This is probably what I want. Watch this be a disaster. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Okay. I feel that I may have merely kicked the can down the road a bit, but I'm going to stick to it. So now we go back to the next thing I wanted to do, which is to set the admin password. I bet I bet this state goes wrong as well. Oh, I hate it. I don't know what I'm doing. Basically, I'm relearning everything. I haven't set up a React application from scratch in years, and even at 1Password, it's been a while since I did any sophisticated React code. And I was never as good at it as the dedicated web programmers anyway. So, yeah, stumbling in the dark here. This.plant.set admin password. And then, so I know this is going to be an async function, and then I want to this.status, want to await this.status. So after the password is set, there should be an update. Now, let's jump into the client. So here's the status function. I'm going to jump down. I don't even know where to put it. Async set admin password. I'm just going to alphabetize the functions, one at a time. Hmm. It's amusing. I'm going to do a whole bunch of ritualistic code here for a section that's going to be called like once per the lifetime of a server. Nevertheless, okay, that gets all of the client side set up for the moment. I'll verify it. Console.log, setting the admin password to password. So now submit. Nothing. I have failed to do. Oh, I probably didn't hook that up. Authentication.tsx should have an on-auth function, but there's also the on-admin password. Yeah, okay, so on-admin password, wait. Well, that's sure not right. So I've gotten the manager, but I don't want to call status. I want to call set admin password. There we go. Yep, and the state manager. So now if I submit, okay, set the admin password to something that is not correct at all. Oh, no, it's fine. I'm mixing up Rust and TypeScript here. Okay, so that done. Of course, big network error because the server is not set up to receive that query. So now I will set that up. No, that's not any good. Oh. I was sure I was going to sneeze there and wanted to spare you all that. set admin password. It just kind of keeps on. Oh, actually, it doesn't have to keep on going here. In fact, I think I'm going to call this, I'll keep the handler set the way it is, but I'm going to call it just plain old set password. In this case, it's going to be for the admin user, and this is the password. Let status equals core.status. I got to get back into the core. Yeah, okay, so core.status.await. And what does handler expect? It expects something that is going to return an extended result. Okay, cool. So we find out what the status is. If status dot admin enabled, then we're actually going to return a straight up error. So we'll call it okay, but response builder. Is this okay? Hang on. Actually, no, I'm going to make it an error. Not a fatal error, but definitely an error, and return with a dedicated error code. So if admin enabled, this is just going to be a straight up permission denied. Okay, so if admin is enabled, then I'm going to say error permission denied. And otherwise, I'm going to go unimplemented at the moment because I want to make sure that I've got the error set up correctly. I gotta go rescue a piece of furniture from the dog. Oh yeah, teething young dogs. I'm not sure database lost is really a fatal error. Non-unique database key means some database corruption has happened, database migration failure is really bad. Construct query failure is just a straight up programmer problem, like I've got a SQL query and it's wrong. Result extended error. Include that. If status.admin enabled. Oh wait, there isn't. Yeah, that's what I thought. The question mark syntax, the try operator, doesn't work with the extended error. I don't know how the try operator is implemented. So instead I've got the return error function that it'll do kind of the same thing. It'll unwrap the value and return it return it to here if the value is okay, but if it is an error or a fatal error, it will return from the function, leaving the error intact. And that makes sense. where are my, these are my types. So status is not here. Where's my status type? There. Let's make the value public. And then going back to main to fix a bug there. And either I failed to save the function, handle set admin password. Why? Oh, I didn't import it. Okay, server is back up and running. So now I need to... So the idea here is if admin is enabled, which is basically the admin password has been set, you can't change the password, at least not through this endpoint. You're going to have to go through a normal change password endpoint, which requires that you already be authenticated. I don't have much in the way of authentication in the app right now, but little steps, little steps. Let's see here. So we are returning if the admin is enabled. So here I want to go core.setPassword. Right. Almost anything that involves interacting with the database requires write access. Mismatched types. Why oh, because I didn't return a value, but that's not what I want to return. I want to return a reply. So in this case, it'll just be an OK response builder dot body. Nothing. That should be an OK. So just a normal 200 response right there, but I've still got the function wrong. Handler. Expects me to return result extended response vacuate. Oh, right. Degree of flexibility that is lacking there that I don't like. Okay, back into the set password function. What have we got? Mismatch types, expected enum. Yeah, this is a mismatch between the error type that the database can return and an app error. The database can only return no response. Is that a fatal error? If we lose the connection, okay, architecturally here, the SQLite database is being managed by its own thread because, at least with RU SQLite, the Rust SQLite library, you can't share a connection across threads, and because of the way that I want to do architect, maybe there's a way that I can organize this. I set up my database behind a trait. Here we go. And I did it so that for test code, I can be running against basically whatever mock database I want to. For production code, obviously, I'm going to be running against a SQLite database. I tend to do this sort of pattern through dependency injection. So I create whichever database instance I'm wanting to use and pass that to the core when I'm initializing the core. Well, I ran into a lot of trouble where if I created something that directly referenced the Rust SQLite or a connection that the Rust SQLite library gave back, I couldn't use that across multiple threads. It's not safe to be accessed from multiple threads, even when stored within an arc. So what I ended up doing was pushing. I have a single background thread which owns that database connection because you can pass it to another thread. So a single background thread owns that database connection, and then I've got a channel for sending messages to that thread and getting it to do things and getting responses. So this no response error is if somehow the channel doesn't respond. And I don't know that that is really, if the channel just closes, I don't know that that is, in fact, I don't have a way to recover from it. So I'm going to remove that error type completely, which is going to cause a lot of other things to break. And it's okay, I will fix them. And let me find a... I'm going to add it to the fatal error. So error database connection lost. Just make it dirt simple right here. Why is the proc macro panicking? Oh, it's already been declared. Awesome. Yeah, okay, so no response just goes away. So now I'll go to my database and it will only return acceptable values or fatal errors, which means that we're only going to be doing results. Okay, now I'm going to create the set password function. Oh, maybe I'm not even going to do the set password function. Maybe I'm just going to call save user. That is entirely what I am going to call. Keep it simple. So instead of set password, I'm going to let user equals state.db.user with this. It's not the username. This should be all about the UUID. But when can I get the UUID? No method. There's a couple of things that have gone wrong here. Oh, well, one thing that's gone wrong is that I neglected to await the results of that. Because set password is not the right function, it is save user, which doesn't exist. it exists all the way on the background. What in the world? We'll come back to that presently. Huh. I need to break this into multiple files. This is the DB connection. I never created the save user function. Okay, well, I'm going to, this is starting to get bad, but I am going to duplicate that entire function again. How could this have not... Hang on. I've got something very confusing happening here. Trait, database. Okay, that's what's wrong. Okay. Async fn save user. Mute self. User ID. Name. Password. Admin. And enabled. Okay, so all of that's in place. So we're going to make a database request. Save user, user ID, name, password, admin, enabled, all of the stuff. Now, send it across. If that fails, we're going to return a fatal error. Okay. If this is okay, then we're going to return, that's the full user row. User.uuid or whatever that user row is. It's just ID. That's all we need to return. It's just an ID. If there's an error, then there's going to be, it's probably going to be this whole message mismatch. Oh, no. Oh, it could get more complicated than that. Basically, yep. basically the only acceptable response is this one. Any other response should give a message mismatch. Let's see here. So now, fatal error, database connection lost. I'm basically assuming that anything else is the database connection is gone, bad things happened, all of that. Now I want to apply this to all of these other functions. And my entire test suite is going to just completely fall over dead. Getting there, getting there. Now it's just the long, slow process of resolving all of the places where I didn't get the code updated. There's supposed to be a way to rename things, and admittedly this was more complicated than a rename, but for some reason the rename function in my editor isn't working. So that's fun. User ID, string, bool, and then the response to save user is just going to be a user ID if things are successful, of course. Okay. No field ID on user ID. Oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. Just user ID. And this should be an uppercase OK. And we'll do it again here. And here there's just stuff that is still completely wrong. And that might get us to the point of having something working. Probably, I don't think I can pass a string reference across a channel, so I'm just going to take ownership of both strings. And the user ID is an option. What is this complaining about? Name.toOwned, that's Oh, there's so many open errors. Wait. Okay, that problem is now resolved. Are there any errors still in this file? Outside of the tests? No. Okay. Okay, coming back to here. We're just going to start handling problems one at a time. Okay, set password. Expected user ID found a string. Easily fixed. And I have to go back into the database code because I didn't handle everything. Yeah, that makes sense. So request save user, user ID, username, password, enabled admin. I'm just going to leave this unimplemented at the moment. This will be the last thing that we fill in. Okay, line 221, a couple of these. Okay, we'll start with this one though. Save user. I feel like I've got a function for this. Result ext, I can, if I bring it in from a result, the air condition for result will be treated, okay. Okay. So this is a case where my type signature is again wrong because I don't have any way for it to return an ordinary error. It's only going to return fatal errors. You know, it's just how it's going to be right now. So match this against OK. Yeah. I'm going to return an OK. If it's an error, we're going to say fatal error. What are the possible error types? It's just a fatal error. Okay. Result ext. I have a macro for that. Oh, because it's not a macro. So when the compiler catches up, this section should be fine or getting close to it. Bunch of fields that don't exist. I'm so good at this. Really, I am. User row. What are the fields? Ah, that's what. Come on, work, work. I feel like this is better. Nope, it's not. 224, it really hates some of these fields. No field name. How can that... Oh, it's not actually found. Okay. App error. Yeah, okay, so we'll say not found. So if it's okay, some row, we'll return a row. Otherwise, okay, none. We're going to return... It's not fatal. It's just an error. App error not found. UUID.toString. What converters? Ah, I've got asster. Yeah, I can tell that it's getting late and that I haven't slept very much recently because I'm really slowing down. But I'm also reaching that state where I'm just completely hell-bent on getting this working. I see. Okay, I think this function is finally right. And I have not many others, but I definitely have a few others that I have to fix. Okay, we'll start with this one, getting the character sheet. So I get a character, or I get a character sheet row. I'm going to map it to Okay, I've got a result. Oh, I think the error is that I can't do a result ext here. So this is getting too complicated, and what I'm going to do instead, match CR with, again, this is going to be an OK sum row, an OK none, and an error. This is definitely not a fatal error, though. This is just a... Where is it? No, actually, errors are fatal errors. So return fatal error. I don't need to call return. This is going to be in the tail position. If there's nothing here... Well, this one allows me to return none if the data is not found. So I'll just do that. Expected one argument found two. I think my inline error checker is mistaken at the moment. So I'm going to ignore. Yep, thought so. It just went away. Good. Okay. This one, get back the users. It's either okay or it's a fatal error. So match users with okay. With users.intoIter.map user from you collect. Okay. And there's really no other possibilities. And this is basically the same code. I think that I've not written the conversion from a game row to a game. I think that's why the from is failing. It's trying to find It's trying to match the parameter against a different expected gain. Yeah. Okay. We're just going to leave that out for the moment. Okay, now line 64. What are you complaining about? Return error. Mismatched types. Expected that enum. I think what's happening... What does return error take? Okay, so return error assumes that the parameter that it's being given is going to be an extended result, which is no longer the case. So instead, okay, match state db user await map error. That's kind of awful. The database stopped responding. That's kind of... I've been really sloppy in how I'm handling my errors. And I kind of know that, but I thought I was making things better. Match arms have incompatible types. That makes sense. And then this function, what's going on here? Return error should have unwrapped everything. Okay. Potentially the last issue? Yeah. Yep. Okay, the entire server is compiling again. That took a good long while, but I changed too many things at once, which is really just it's really just asking for pain. So what I want to do now is finally implement the call to save user, the underlying save user. So now it's really going to be db.saveuser, user ID, name, password, admin, and enabled. And I just got these two mixed up. Dot await. Yep. Match user ID fits an OK user ID. tx.send database response save user ID .await .unwrap error. Just a straight up panic down here, which is not ultimately how I want it to be, but it's how it's going to be for the moment. Ah, that's not async. Okay, server's up. Reload this. Okay, set a password. No. Oh, it's CORS header issues again. Fine. Allow, control, origin. Right. Response builder, header. That's the wrong thing anyway. Client.ts. No, I fixed that. Didn't save it. It's still going to be wrong. There's still going to be a CORS header issue. And the CORS headers are often difficult for me to think about. Okay. So the entire thing is missing, but on which one? Network. It's an options request. I mean, I should put these CORS headers on basically every request, even though on the production application, you'll have received the web interface directly from the server and thus be allowed to talk to the server. But what's happening here is that the server is on one port, the web interface is on a different port, and just security prevents, or browser security prevents you from calling between the two. Yeah, okay. So there's options. And I just set it here. So I'm going to do the same thing for set admin password. Warp options. It allows put, content type, all of that. It would be really nice if there were an easier, or at least more clear way to do that. Ooh. Oh, the server's compiling. Oh, futures do nothing unless you await them. 248. Nope, nope, nope. 248. Yep, I am failing to await the future. Wow, that sounds very existential. Okay. AOE. Ooh, construct query failure. No such comment. Yeah, that is absolutely true. That is... Okay, gotta type the column names correctly. And babbled. I must not have any test code for that. Oh, still doesn't like it. It got the request. What? What's the error? Network. It set the password as well, so I'm not sure what went wrong after that. Okay. What in the world is happening? There's no errors in this. And I don't know why the put request is being put before options, but okay. Oh. Okay. I need the course headers on the handler as well. There we go. It works. Wow. Okay. So, oh, it'd be hard to summarize this. There's quite a few moving parts. So I'll do the simpler one first, which is starting at the server endpoint. We have the endpoint. So we have this endpoint, admin password. It expects a body. I know that it expects a JSON body. It's just going to be a string. That's the only thing that should be in the body. That gets handled just by calling well, first of all, by bailing out if the admin password has already been set. If it's been set, the server is configured and somebody is trying to forcibly reconfigure it, and we can't have that. So just bail, permission denied. If it hasn't been set though, go ahead and set it by calling the set password function on the core app. The user ID is admin. The username is also admin. So let's jump into here. The set password function first grabs the existing user from the database and then saves the user back with the password field changed. The database interaction is actually a database interface in which I have a lot of boilerplate code to build up a request that goes to another process. But the request here is just to save the user. And again, all of the parameters, they're all unwrapped. I think I can just template almost all of this. The only thing that is unique is this portion. And this portion. So how to handle the response. That's interesting. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. Save user is going to get handled elsewhere. Okay, it gets received. The message gets received right here. We then call the save user function on the database and return the response. The save user function on the database, if there is no user ID, it's going to create a new user. If there is a user ID, it's going to update an existing user. I should force names to be unique because most people are going to log in by username, not by user ID. So that's a problem to resolve. In fact, I'm going to just add that to the GitLab, the GitEA. Come on. Projects, that's what I wanted. New issue. Usernames in the database must be unique. A lot of lookups could be username password based. We don't want to match the incorrect username, but we still want to be able to change a username. So the user ID is the fully unique, is the fully unchangeable identifier for the user. Yeah, there we go. Create the issue. It's on Visions. Better put it in my tech demo milestone. Cool. And come back to that presently. Okay. Anyway. Awesome. That's... Yeah, that's everything on the server side. Then on the client side... feel like my music has hit a loop forever, that it keeps on hitting the same track over and over again. Repeat mode, yep, repeat track. Weird that, yeah, I get it. Okay, well, stop. I can go silent now. Okay, so over on the client side, we first start in the app, no. We first start in the state provider and the state manager. The state manager handles interacting with the server and then updating the UI state as a result of that. So at the end of grabbing something from the server, it will dispatch it'll dispatch an action to update the state. And right now the only update is to just change the authentication state. Oh. That was rather quick, actually. There's not nearly as much on the client side. It was just a lot of server tedium. So cool. I'm going to commit those changes because I think that's a good change. It really kind of unlocks a lot of the architecture of what I'm going to be building. I still have to get in setting this up, I didn't get the WebSockets working again, but I will try to do that. I'm going to delay doing that until after I've gotten authentication working, which also means encrypting passwords. So git commit. This is set the admin password on an initial server or on a new server. This sets up the server state manager and state model, not server. It allows, it has all of the functions to support the set admin password endpoint and some extras which will be helpful in saving users generally. Push that up, and I'm actually going to go back to the Git server right quick because, unless I'm mistaken, I did projects. Here we go. Unless I'm mistaken, this task is about bootstrapping the initial admin user. That's awesome. That means I can open a pull request. Admittedly, there is currently nobody to review my pull requests because I am a solo developer on this server, but nevertheless. So, set up the user interface state model and set up the admin user onboarding. And for this, in order to do what I want to do, I'm going to remove the game database again, restart the server. Refresh. Let's take some screenshots. Come on. There we go. And then do not want to save this password yet, though. Cool. So there we go. Oh, just going to leave that as it is. Minus 2,000 lines. Why am I minus 2,000 lines? Oh, cargo.lock. What happened here? I mean, looks like just one line. Oof. Things are not performing well now. I have started receiving the parts for my new machine. It'll be the first desktop machine I've had in 20 years. I picked up the video card today, and that thing, like the video card itself, is as heavy as my laptop, which I just find astounding. Like, they are monsters in their own right. So that's really impressive. I hope it performs well. I had to reorder the CPU. The original vendor turned out to not be able to fulfill that order. Oh, I removed a bunch of files. A very old version of the application that I'd been playing with. Okay, that makes sense. Oh yeah, I was using Webpack on this one. I have no idea. Now I'm just using whatever React Create app wants to do. Anyway, yeah, it's probably going to be a few more weeks before I have all of the parts and can get the machine set up and get an OS installed. But, um, you know, I imagine that machine is going to perform really well. My hope was that I would be able to like record Minecraft in 4K and with shaders turned on, which that that GPU sure should be able to do. But with that said, I need to go sleep, so I'm going to call it a night. If you watch this video, thank you. Leave a message, maybe subscribe to my channel or subscribe to my Twitch. Kind of hang out with me while I'm writing code, ask questions, that sort of thing. Leave any questions that you have in the comments. And on that note, I'm out. Good night. See you in a day or two.